The San Marino Grand Prix gave us another fascinating race with attrition in the early stages and Bastianini doing his standard late race charge to attempt to secure the win. So let's take a look at 5 things we learned from this fascinating and history-making San Marino Grand Prix. Grazie Dovi. 346 races after his debut and Andrea Dovizioso's storied career comes to an end with points. Dovi crossed the line in his last race of a difficult season in 12th. It's not the way the career of a man who was often the only one to take it to Marc Marquez should come to an end, but it doesn't take away from his incredible achievements in the sport over what has been a fascinating career with plenty of wins and podiums across multiple manufacturers. 12 months on. Around 12 months on from his Aprilia debut, and the number 12 has shown incredible improvement. This was of course the round where Maverick Viñales first rode the RSGP, and 1 year from that debut he achieved yet another podium after threatening the lead in the early stages of the race. That win on a third different manufacturer gets ever closer for Maverick, and on that Aprilia, working as it is, next year he might just be a title threat. Marini magic. Respect once again has to be given to Luca Marini. He may not have managed the podium, but he achieved a second fourth in a row and continues his amazing no crashes record. Even the podium sitters were discussing his speed in the cool-down room. Luca has taken some time to show why he is in MotoGP, but he is now showing his speed, and it can't be long until he stands on his first GP podium. Managing to hold off Quartararo in the late stages of the race for 4th place is no mean feat, and I'm sure Bagnaia was happy to see his fellow VR46 rider keep Fabio behind, as it helped increase his points gain towards the title leader. Championship charge ending. The last podium that Aleix Espargaro was on was way back in Mugello, and that didn't change in Misano. As good as he's been this year, it feels like since his crash in Silverstone, he's lost that edge that he had in the first half of the season. Aragon luckily is a track that has hosted some good rounds for Espargaro in the past, with his first MotoGP podium being achieved in 2014 on Ford Yamaha at that track. Aleix really needs to find that podium pace again in the next round and beat Fabio, or watch his championship hopes begin to fizzle out, as he's lost second place in the standings and more points to Quartararo at this round in Misano, thanks to a fairly average result of 6th. We know from Viñales' pace that the Aprilia is more than capable of still getting on the podium, but it is clearly Aleix that has just lost something in the last few rounds, and he does need to turn it around if he wants to stay in this title fight. 4 in 4. Despite a 3-place grid penalty, Bagnaia makes it 4 in 4, continuing his incredible winning streak, being the first Ducati rider to achieve 4 consecutive wins, as well as the first Italian since Valentino Rossi. Pecco was certainly swept up in the moment, forgetting to speak English in his post-race interview with Simon Crafar, and I think we can all see why. With Fabio only getting 5th place in the race, he gains 14 points to the Frenchman, and the possibility of winning his first title, which seemed so impossible 4 rounds ago, gets closer and closer. The next round at Aragon was one that Pecco did very well at last year, taking the win from Marc Marquez, and it is not a great track for Fabio, so it is a possibility that we'll see Pecco make it 5 in 5 and keep closing the gap to the top. I guess we'll have to find out in 2 weeks' time. Rider of the Weekend. My Rider of the Weekend goes to Andrea Dovizioso for a good ride in his final race. There's not a lot more to be said about Dovizioso. It's the end to a long and prosperous GP career, and I'm sure that the award for Rider of the Day for his last race from a tiny YouTube channel based in New Zealand will be the crowning achievement of his storied career. Not at all his 15 wins, championship, or many podiums. I also want to shout out Watanabe. He may have been lapped in the race, but hopping on a MotoGP bike at a track you don't know and keeping it upright is an achievement in itself. It's a difficult situation for the Japanese rider, as under the circumstances he was never going to keep pace with the field, but I hope he enjoyed his time on the MotoGP bike. Struggle of the weekend. Remy Gardner is my struggle of the weekend. Obviously, with little reason to do well for the Tech 3 team, Remy has kind of lost some of his mojo, and he appeared to be outclassed by his teammate, who managed 13th, for the entirety of the weekend. It's been a brutal 2 weeks or so for the Australian, and it's sad to see his time in MotoGP coming to an end after just 1 year at a struggling team. I hope he finds his way back on the grid somehow, as I don't feel that he was given the shot that he really deserved in the Premier class. And that's 5 things we learnt from the San Marino Grand Prix. Did I miss any? Who was your rider and struggle of the weekend? Comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.